Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Ram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Vyasam Nityam Bhagavata Seva Bhagavatam Shloke Bhakti Neshti Om Jnana Timirandasya Jana Shalakya Chakshurun Malatam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manvadastam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Dadati Swapadantikam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Navamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajam Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam
Krishna Chaitanya
Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Shri Krishna Karuna Vesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Hari Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyama Paschatya Vishatarine Panchakalpa
Krapa Sindhu Bhya Patitanam Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So we're going to continue to read today from Srimad Bhagavatam. Here on Canto 3, Chapter 20, Text 44. Well, Brahmaji is creating the different living entities. Siddhan Vidya Dharams Chaiva Tirodhanena Swasruja Tevyo Adattatam Atmanam Antardhana Khyam Adbhutam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Then Lord Brahma, by his ability to be hidden from vision, created the Siddhas and Vidyadharas and gave them that wonderful form of his known as the Antardhan. Antardhan means that these living creatures can be perceived to be present, but they cannot be seen by vision. So the Siddhas and Vidyadharas, we can feel that they are there, but cannot see them, perceive them by their presence, but can't see. Sakinaran kim purushan pratyam myena srijat prabhuho manayan atmanatmanam atma bhasam vilokayan. One day, Brahma, the creator of the living entities, beheld his own reflection in the water, and admiring himself, he evolved kim purushas as well as kinaras out of that reflection. So kim purushas and kinaras, they're all different types of living entities. Etu tajagharu rupam tyaktam yat parameshthina mithuni bhuya gayantas tam evos shashi karma bihi. The Kimpurushas and Kinnaras took possession of that shadowy form left by Brahma. That is why they and their spouses sing his praises by recounting his exploits at every daybreak. The time early in the morning, 1.5 hours before sunrise, is called Brahma Muhurat. During this Brahma Muhurat, spiritual activities are recommended. Spiritual activities performed early in the morning have a greater effect than in any other part of the day. So, Brahma Muhurat. It's easier to control the mind. It's easier to do spiritual activities in the Brahma Muhurta time. Dehena Vaibhogavata Shayano Bahuchintaya Sarge Anupachite Krodad Utsa Sarja Hatad Vapuhu. Once Brahma lay down with his body stretched at full length. He was very concerned that the work of creation had not proceeded apace, and in a sullen mood, he gave up that body too. Yehiyan tam mutaha kesha ahayaste anga jajnire sarpa prasarpata krura naga boguru kandharaha. Oh dear Vidur, the hair that dropped from that body transformed into snakes, and even while the body crawled along with its hands and feet contracted, there sprang from it ferocious serpents and nagas with their hoods expanded. So the snakes are born. Sa atmanam mayan manyamanaha krita krityam ivatma buhu tadam manon sasarjante manasa loka bhavanan. One day Brahma, the self-born, the living creature, felt as if the object of his life had been accomplished. At that time, he evolved from his mind the Manus, who promote the welfare activities of the universe. Te bhayaso asarjat swayam puram purusham atmavan tan drishtva ye purashrishtaha prashasamshuhu prajapatim. The self-possessed creator gave them his own human form. On seeing the Manus, who had been created earlier, the demigods, the Gandharvas, and so on, applauded Brahma, the Lord of the universe. So now Manu created Manus and in this human form. That's why it's called Manu. He's the king of the human beings, leader of the human beings. And the demigods and Gandharvas are happy. Aho eta jagat shrishtaha shukratam bata ye te kritam pratisthitaha kriya yasmin sakam anam adamahe. They prayed, O creator of the universe, we are glad. What you have produced is well done. Since ritualistic acts have now been established soundly in this human form, we shall all share the sacrificial oblations. The importance of sacrifice is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, verse 10. The Lord confirms there that in the beginning of creation, Brahma created the Manus along with the ritualistic sacrificial method and blessed them. Continue these sacrificial rites and you will be gradually elevated to your proper position of self-realization and will also enjoy material happiness. So the human beings are meant for sacrifices. And so in Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita also that, that sacrifice has to be performed, that the Lord created the demigods and the man, and also the method of sacrifice. And then why did he do that? He said, so that you can enjoy your life here, enjoy your life in this world, and also gradually raise the consciousness to understand that we are not the body, we are the soul, and in that way go back home, go back to Godhead. All the living entities created by Brahma are conditioned souls and are inclined to lord it over material nature. So what is our conditioning is that whatever we see, we think it's for my enjoyment, it's my property, and I own it. And that is our conditioning. The purpose of sacrificial rituals is to revive gradually the spiritual realization of the living entities. That is the beginning of life within this universe. These sacrificial rituals, however, by intending to please the Supreme Lord. Unless one pleases the Supreme Lord, or unless one is Krishna conscious, one cannot be happy either in material enjoyment or in spiritual realization. So the purpose of sacrifice is to please the Lord. That's the purpose of sacrifice, not only to go up to the heavenly planets, or I will do some sacrifice so that I will become a demigod, or I'll go to the heavenly planets, or even in this life, I'll enjoy a lot. But everything is aimed towards the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And here it is nicely put, Srila Prabhupada is saying that if we really want to be happy, then we have to become Krishna conscious, means to please the Lord. And then it's only then that we would be happy in our material enjoyment and spiritual realization. The purpose of all spiritual activities is to please the Supreme Lord. And the purpose of our material activities also should be to please the Supreme Lord. And the easiest sacrifice, the most sublime sacrifice that is recommended in the scriptures for this age of Kali is the Harinam Sankirtan, sacrifice of chanting the holy name, Sankirtan Yajna. That is recommended in this age of Kali. Any comments till now what we have read?
No. Yeah, it's okay.
So reading on, tapasa vidyaya yukto yogena susamadhina rishi rishikeshaha sasarjabi mataha prajaha. Having equipped himself with austere penance, adoration, mental concentration, and absorption in devotion, accompanied by dispassion, and having controlled his senses, Brahma, the self-born living creature, evolved great sages as his beloved sons. The ritualistic performances of sacrifice are meant for material economic development. In other words, they are meant to keep the body in good condition. For what? For cultivation of spiritual knowledge. But for actual attainment of spiritual knowledge, other qualifications are needed. What is essential is vidya, knowledge, or worship of the Supreme Lord. So, what in the Vedic times, the sacrifice were mentioned. Why? So that people could live happily, materially, and at the same time get detached from the world. In the sense, in the same time, understand that we are not the body, but we are the soul, and that we have to go back to Godhead. That is the purpose of sacrifice. The main idea why Krishna has created this material world is to give us a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. But we say we want to enjoy. So he says, okay, you enjoy here, but you also come back. You understand that your true enjoyment is only when you come back to the spiritual world. Sometimes the word yoga is used to refer to the gymnastic performances of different bodily postures which help mental concentration. Generally, the different bodily postures in the yoga system are accepted by less intelligent men to be the end of yoga, but actually they are meant to concentrate the mind upon the super soul. So yoga means linking to the Supreme. So what is the aim of yoga? The aim of yoga is samadhi. That is the goal of yoga. Samadhi, to fix the mind on the Supreme, on the super soul who is in our heart. We are the soul, and next to us in our heart is the super soul. So that is the aim of yoga. After creating persons for economic development, Brahma created sages who would set the example for spiritual realization. And so the highest yogi, Krishna says that in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says the highest yogi is one who fixes his mind on me, a bhakti yogi. That is, Krishna says that he is the highest yogi, a bhakti yogi. Devyasjay Kakesh Kashaha Swasya Dehasyam Sham Adat Ajaha Yattat Samadhi Yogarthi Tapo Vidya Viraktimat. To each one of these sons, the unborn creator of the universe gave a part of his own body, which was characterized by deep meditation, mental concentration, supernatural power, austerity, adoration, and renunciation. The word viraktimat in this verse means possessed of the qualification of renunciation. Spiritual realization cannot be attained by materialistic persons. For those who are addicted to sense enjoyment, the spiritual realization is not possible. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that those who are too attached to seeking material possessions and material enjoyment cannot reach yoga samadhi, absorption in Krishna consciousness. Propaganda that one can enjoy this life materially and at the same time spiritually advance is simply bogus. The principles of renunciation are four: to avoid illicit sex, to avoid meat eating, to avoid intoxication, and to avoid gambling. These four principles are called tapasya or austerity. To absorb the mind in the Supreme, in Krishna consciousness, is the process of spiritual realization. Thus, end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 20th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. And so, what is recommended is that we follow the four regulative principles: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. And at the same time, fix the mind on Krishna. And how do we fix the mind on Krishna? By hearing and chanting. When we are hearing and chanting, then we can fix the mind on Krishna, and we avoid this meat eating, gambling, these four things, so that we stop our sinful activity. And when we stop sinful activity, then the mind is more receptive to hearing spiritual knowledge, to try to understand our true position, self-realization. So that is what we said. Any comments?
No, all is good. No comments, but yeah, that self-realization, like how the ladder is just so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody's emphasizing for the human life is that only everywhere in every, like how they're relating it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for bringing to light. Yes.
And then I was listening to one of the lectures of Amrendra Prabhu yesterday. Then he said that yes, all the people have just one question, that we are into sadhana from 10 years. Why can't we feel any change in our lives? Why can't we? Why? So the biggest trouble is that we always see fault in others. Always, because we are trained in that way to see faults. Even if person has good qualities, we will never see that. We will just pinpoint the faults and criticizing. If we move away from these two qualities and just chant Krishna's names, then definitely everything will be in order, and we will have the realization. The only that thing that is lacking is that we are doing these two things constantly without even realizing that we are doing it. We don't even know sometimes that we have criticized the person, we have find the fault in him, and we are doing it constantly. So we have to stop that. Only then, and then only, we can make progress. Yes, by chanting we will purify, no doubt, but we will not reach to that stage. So he said that these two are very, very important, that we cannot criticize the devotees, we like, and who's devotee? He said every person is devotee. Every single person is devotee. Because today or tomorrow, he will go back to Krishna. Every soul is destined for Godhead only. So if he's not a devotee today, but he will convert into a devotee tomorrow. It was so beautiful. I'll share the lecture.
Thank you. Yes, it's true. That's what Lord Chaitanya said.
Yeah,
He said Lord
he gave two,
Chaitanya's
three
main
examples.
teaching is chant Hare Krishna and don't criticize anyone, and you'll go back to Godhead. And yes, thank you for bringing light that we are all, or each of us is devotee. Why? Because each of us is spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna. That's our constitutional position. And each of us is just on our journey back home. So we just, that's the reason we need to respect everyone. Lord Chaitanya's teaching, respect everyone. That's what we need to do. So yes, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no one is perfect. Everyone has got imperfections. Being human being, we are right. No one is perfect. There are mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Everyone
And then what we tend to do is we
of
tend to
that
see the fault
came,
in
right?
others instead of our own self.
Others. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to look inside, but it's easier because it's very difficult work to look inside and it's painful to change. So it's easier to look outside. And that's what we need to change. And then also, usually what happens is if we do a little bit of introspection, we will see that the fault that we are finding in others, that is there in our own self. Krishna is giving us an opportunity to help us see what's in our heart through others. So he's showing us, hey, this is the fault you can see, right, in someone else. But you know what? This fault is in you, so you can work on it. So this is how kind Krishna is. But we just stop it at that. We just say, oh, this is a fault. And then we don't look inside. But the idea is that we can look inside. So, yes. Thank you. Very important point.
Thank you.
So we'll begin this new chapter, chapter 21, conversation between Manu and Kardama. Vidurvacha swayambhuvasya cha manor vamshaha parama sammataha katyatam bhagavan yatra maithune naidhire prajaha. Vidur said the line of Swayambhuva Manu was most esteemed. O worshipful sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race whose progeny is multiplied through sexual intercourse. Regulated sex life to generate good population is worth accepting. Actually, Vidur was not interested in hearing the history of persons who merely engaged in sex life, but he was interested in the progeny of Swayambhuva Manu because in that dynasty, good devotee kings appeared who protected their subjects very carefully with spiritual knowledge. By hearing the history of their activities, therefore, one becomes more enlightened. An important word used in this connection is Paramas, which indicates that the progeny created by Swayambhuva Manu and his sons was approved of by great authorities. In other words, sex life for creating exemplary population is acceptable to all sages and authorities of Vedic scripture. So Vidur wants to know about Swayambhuva Manu and his descendants, because Swayambhuva Manu is a devotee of the Lord. And his sons were also very good kings and very good devotees. So he wants to hear about the devotees of the Lord. And anyway, and Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that sex life for begetting good children, that is me. He says that in the opulences when he's saying, I'm the taste and water and the of the ocean, of the beast, I'm lion, of, So he says, and when he's showing when he's speaking about his vibhutis, he's also saying that sex life for having good children, that is Krishna himself. Because the intention is what? To bring to this world a good soul, a good devotee, and to help him to serve the Lord and to go back home, back to Godhead, and to help him to be an instrument of the Lord. Priyavrato tana pado suto swayam bhuvasya vai yatha dharmam jugupatuhu sapta dvipavatim mahim. The two great sons of Swayambhuva Manu, Priyavarta and Uttanpad, ruled the world consisting of 7 islands, just according to religious principles. Srimad Bhagavatam is also history of the great rulers of different parts of the universe. In this verse, the names of Priyavrata and Uttanpad, sons of Swayambhuva, are mentioned. They rule this earth, which is divided into 7 islands. These 7 islands are still current as Asia, Europe, Africa, America, Australia, and the North and South Poles. There is no chronological history of all the Indian kings in Srimad Bhagavatam, but the deeds of the most important kings such as Priyavrat and Uttanpad and many others like Lord Ramachandra and Maharaj Yudhishthir are recorded because the activities of such pious kings are worth hearing. People may benefit by studying their histories. So we always like to hear about great people. We can understand how they act, what is their mood, how they are properly being situated in their position. And in that way, we learn. Association is important, isn't it? We take on the quality of who or what we are associating with. And so that is the reason association is very important. And when we are hearing about these great devotee kings, we are associating with them. We are trying to understand how they're doing their duties perfectly in Krishna consciousness, emperor of the world. When they're saying these Indian kings, it means the ruler of the full world, not only of the land called India right now, the full earth. And so Swayambhuva Manu is a great devotee of the Lord, and his children, some of his children also ruled the earth very, very proper manner. So we'll stop here. King Uttanpad, he is the father of Dhruva Maharaj. So Dhruva Maharaj, father is Uttanpad, and his grandfather is Swayambhuva Manu, and great-grandfather is Brahmaji. And that's the reason when he felt offended, he went to the forest that he wanted a greater kingdom than his great-grandfather. Means he wanted a greater kingdom than Brahmaji. Then that's the reason Krishna gave him the pole star, which is a Vaikuntha planet inside this material world, where Kshirodakshai Vishnu lies down on the ocean of milk. So, anyone wanted to add anything?
No.
If no, then we'll stop here for Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you for joining in. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premnande, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.